Hey, how you guys doing? Just gonna kind of go ahead and give you guys a rundown of what exactly went on for my most recent exacerbation. All right, so when it comes to exacerbations, I haven't had one in a very long time. The only time I could really think is before 2018, which is when I had started my Ocrevus medication. And then, yeah, this whole fiasco happened here, and this is exactly what went down. It just started like I felt like a weakness, like soreness in my quadriceps, and I just thought, oh, maybe they're just sore from too much exercise or something. And so, I just thought that. And then a few times it would be kind of like I would get up from my computer chair and I would go to stand up, and I couldn't, and I kept on falling back down, and I would and it got to the point where I would be holding onto the chair so much when I'm trying to get up, the whole chair would flipped over on the floor, and I ended up on the floor. And so that was the first time I fell down. Second time, it was just like my steps were I couldn't keep track of my steps, and I didn't know which way to go, and it was such a silly fall. I held on to one of the pillars by my house, and I was trying to hold on to that so I didn't fall down, but I ended up dragging myself and then I ended up hitting the floor hard, and it was kind of like a little whiplash. It felt like that. And so that was that went down. And then I always see them as silly, whatever. But then as time progressed through this whole fiasco, it was just like it was getting harder and harder for me to lift up my feet, to go through a doorway or anything like that. And then I started to notice, like, when I'm going through my doorway and my feet wouldn't even fully clear the step, and I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, this is not a good sign, because it's getting worse and worse. And it's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. I even had this. I haven't had that in forever, where I feel like a cold chill. It's just like a cold whisper. It's the only way I can think about when I say it. But yeah, it's just like, and it just runs, it radiates through your legs. And it's just like one long, slow, just whoosh. And so the next morning, I just thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? I gotta go ahead and I gotta take care of this before it gets worse. So I started packing up my stuff so I can get ready to go to the hospital. I called a friend of mine to come pick me up and take me down there. Basically, I just received the Solumedrol that they give you whenever you have an exacerbation, which is like the steroids. They try to give me oral steroids, but nothing's more potent than the Solumedrol. And for me, I don't know why, whenever I get Solumedrol now, as compared to when I was younger, now I get really, really bad prolonged hiccups. And we're talking hiccups that will last a week, that'll last a few days, few hours. And it's to the point where it's almost like a phobia, where you start to feel that build up in your chest, and you're just like, oh no, here they come up. And it just continues on. And it's, at the beginning, it's always comical when you're talking with your friends, they're like, you're a funny guy. But then when it just keeps on going, they're just like, oh man, that sucks. All right, and of course there's a medication for the hiccups. Well, kind of. There's this medication that the doctor was talking to me about that I know that they use to treat mental illness. It's kind of a joke with the doctor. He was like, oh, when you look up that medication, you're gonna want to punch me in the face. And I was like, no, why? And he was like, well, because this is used to treat mental illness, and I don't want you to think that I think you're crazy or anything like that, but you know, this is something that can also be used to help out with the hiccups. And you know, I'm let's do it, you know. And yeah, like I said, medication worked kind of sometimes, maybe. And yeah, it's like when it did, it was great because it was like you had hours of freedom, you know, and then it just came right back. When it came to actually resolving that issue, I had read in an article, but that was once I was discharged, that the use of cannabis can assist you with that. And take a few puffs and you'd be fine. And so I took a few, and yes, it was gone. It was gone so quick. Totally, it was. I felt so happy. I literally felt like jumping up and clicking my heels. But taking a step back, and when I was there at the hospital, my first neurologist that treated me for multiple sclerosis back when I was 16, he's actually a resident at that hospital, Southern Hills Hospital, and when he saw me, he was like, okay, so what happened? What this relapse? Told him everything. You know, I was on this medication. I was on Ocrevus. I transitioned into Mavenclad, that medication, and there was a gap in between there. So last infusion that I had got for the Ocrevus was in January of this year. So going down the line with Ocrevus, you're supposed to get it every 6 months. So my next infusion should have been in July, but it wasn't, because we were still waiting for this Mavenclad and doing all the prerequisites. And so July I was supposed to get it, but I didn't. August, didn't get it either. September, almost a whole month, didn't get anything until I started Mavenclad. Then when I started Mavenclad, and I was starting to notice like a weakness in my quadriceps, and just like stumbling and falling and stuff like that. And I was under the impression that it was because of Mavenclad, that this Mavenclad medication was kind of like a, no, don't go that way. You know, that's the reason why you're falling, is because of Mavenclad. And so when I say that to the neurologist, he was just like looking at me, and he says, no, that's impossible. Because when you take an MS medication, you don't see any effects of it until 6 months later. He's like, so that's impossible that it could have been Mavenclad, because you just took that in September. And for you to have a relapse right after you take the medication, that's not likely. He's like, the reason why you had an exacerbation like now, he's like, you were supposed to get infused in July from Ocrevus. So January, then July. He's like, but you didn't. And then you didn't get it in any August. And he went on with that. And he was like, that was the reason why you had the exacerbation, because of that gap. Because everybody always feels crappy the last few weeks before they get their next infusion. He's like, but you waited a few months. He's like, that's the reason why for that. He's like, Mavenclad's a good drug. This medication is something you definitely want to just give it a fighting chance, and just go with it, and see how you feel in a few more months with after you finish the first run through with Mavenclad. I was listening to his words like gospel. So yeah, that's my plan. I actually took my first dosage of the second run through with Mavenclad, because it's supposed to be 5 days, then you take a month break, and then 5 days again, then a full year, and then so on and so forth with that. And yes, and I had no issues with it today. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play it out, and just see how it goes. Hopefully it's great. All right, so but yeah, there at the hospital, though, when I was at Southern Hills Hospital, it was so, everybody's so nice there. They're friendly staff, so can't give them nothing but kudos and thumbs up, because great care, you know, that's the best. And especially when you're feeling crummy as I did at that time, you know, you're just kind of like, having any kind of like positivity around you, it just feels so nice. It does. That's one thing that I definitely learned from this experience, is just, don't don't ever mess around with your medicine that you take for your MS, because yeah, you do any of that and then exacerbations happen or things you don't want to have happen. Alright guys, be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel and hit that bell so you guys can be notified as soon as I release another video. But thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. You guys take care, be safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.